A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at the headlines this evening.
Vesak celebrations at Gotago Gama and No Deal Gama protest sites. Fuel crisis worsens. Dollar shortage leaves ships stranded at the port for weeks.
දැන් තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි මේ රටේ බලශක්ති ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට එන සතිය ඉන්ධන ලබා ගන්නට.
Prime Minister's invitation to lawmakers from 10 independent parties. SLFP cancels Politburo meeting. Opposition leader says SJB parliamentarians won't switch sides. Ali Sabri says he won't accept any ministerial positions. Sri Lankans in Australia request the Australian government to bar entry for corrupt politicians. 230 suspects arrested over acts of violence. Calls mount to enforce the law equally.
සමානව ක්‍රියාත්මක නොවීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් දැනුවත් කිරීම සඳහා තමයි අද දින අපි ලිපියක් මගින් පොලිස්පතිවරයා වෙත අපේ ඒ අදාළ සංදේශය බාර දෙන්න මේ ස්ථානයට පැමිණෙනවා.
Thousands of Buddhist devotees marked the Vesak full moon Poya day today. Religious events were held at places of worship across the country beginning this morning.
Religious events that were held in line with Vesak were broadcast on Sirasa TV today. Gamme the Dhamsavya organised a Sambuddha Vandana program at the Mahabodhi temple in Mardana. The sacred relics of Lord Buddha's closest disciples, Sariyat and Mugalan, were kept on display at the temple. Venerable Banigala Upatisthero, the chief Sanganayaka of Japan and the chief priest of the Mahabodhi temple, attended the event. Venerable Dodampahala Rahulathero and senior lecturer Attanayaka M. Herath, the sacred relics of Sariyat and Mugalan will remain on display at the Mahabodhi temple in Mardana tomorrow as well. The Kurugala Asadisi Shakya Sugata Mahasaya, a 130 feet high stupa, was unveiled today, marking an important day in Buddhist history. The stupa was unveiled by Venerable Vatrakumbare Dhammaratna Thero, the founder of the Nelligala International Buddhist Center and the chief priest of the Kurugala temple. The stupa had been built with the contribution of Dr. Helaruwan Pasan Kumara. It was declared open with the participation of Army Commander General Shavendra Silva and Susara Dinal, the CEO of MTV and M Entertainments. A Sambuddha Puja was held at the Sri Shakya Malake opposite the head office of the Capital Maharaja Group today. The puja was organized by Hakras Chemicals, a subsidiary of the Capital Maharaja Group, and M Chems Private Limited.
A dansal had been set up for people who were in a queue for fuel in Horton Place. Biscuits and drinks were distributed among the people.
We saw the petrol queue from last night. It hasn't moved at all. So, you know, it's hot and people are suffering. So we decided whatever we have at home, that we'll quickly make some drinks and some biscuits that we had at home and give to the people just to help them out in this time of need.
Meanwhile, Vesak celebrations were held at the Gota Gama protest site opposite the President's office in Colombo.
At the protest site, several events were organized in line with Vesak. A Dhamma sermon was held this morning. On Vesak Day, the theme of our struggle is a religious approach. Buddhist monks gave the leadership to this struggle based on the guidance of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was the strongest person who staged a struggle on earth. Dancehals were held at golf phase while lanterns were lit up to mark the special day.
Senator Senanayake brings us the latest from Golf Phase, where protests have been running for 37 days.
It's day 37 here at the protest site opposite the President's office in Golf Phase, dubbed Gota Gama. It's the Vesak full moon poya day. However, regardless of that, you can see people from all walks of life from across the country. A large crowd have gathered here today as well, expressing their dissent towards the government and the President.
Please listen to the people. If you listen to the people, you will know that you don't need a committee. You need strategies. You need to understand the kind of political change, the system change we need.
Regardless, although there has been attacks on Monday the 9th towards the peaceful protesters by the state-sponsored violence, but we continue our representation, which is unity, kindness, compassion.
The people for months, they have been asking for certain things, they have been demanding for certain things, and that hasn't really been brought about. We have been asked, it's Gota Gama, we have asked the President to step down, and that is accountability in our eyes.
A dancehall was held at the No Deal Gama protest site opposite Temple Trees, the Prime Minister's official residence today. I wish everyone a very happy Vesak today. Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims are celebrating Vesak at this protest site. This is the first time in which we are seeing this. Many donors have given us water and biscuits. We were able to give that in this dancehall. We thank everyone who have helped us. May the struggle win. Protests at No Deal Gama entered its third day today. The people are demanding an end to the culture of striking underhand deals in politics.
India's intelligence service says it released a report of a possible LTT attack in Sri Lanka only as general information. Sri Lanka's intelligence service had inquired from its Indian counterpart of the attack planned for Wednesday. Sri Lanka's Defence Ministry says the Indian Intelligence Service would convey any information relating to an attack. The Defence Ministry said it will investigate reports of a possible LTTE attack in Sri Lanka next Wednesday. On Friday, India's Hindu newspaper published a report under which it claimed that, quote, Sri Lankan Tamil outfits abroad have planned attacks to mark Mulivaikal anniversary, end quote.
Our greatest national resource is the sea that surrounds us. Over 8 times the size of our landmass. let's proudly call it what it is. The Sea of Sri Lanka.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank have agreed to support Sri Lanka. The support is to be given to resolve issues over the supply of medicine, food and fertilizer.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met with country representatives of the World Bank and Asian Development Bank today. During talks with us, the World Bank and Asian Development Bank promised to support us in terms of medicine, food and fertilizer. They are going to support the economic sector as well. Many other countries have agreed to support Sri Lanka. The problem we have now is to secure enough fuel supply for the power sector next week. As we have a shortage of dollars in banks, we are trying to find money through various means. The 21st Amendment would be taken up for discussion tomorrow. It will then be presented to Cabinet for approval. I will provide an explanation on the country's economic situation tomorrow.
Cabinet mandate ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. අද රටේ තියෙන ආර්ථික තත්ත්වය ගැන සමාලෝචන සියල්ලම අවසන් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා හෙට ඒ පිළිබඳව මම වාර්තා කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
The political crisis in Sri Lanka has caught the attention of many quarters. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has extended an invitation to the lawmakers of 10 parties sitting independently in Parliament. The leader of the Pivituru Helaurumeya, Udaya Gammanpilla, said the meeting was to take place today. But the lawmakers from the 10 independent parties had informed the Prime Minister to reschedule the meeting.
Will the SLFP support the government? If my party doesn't reach a decision at least today, then I will have to make a decision. My party is important, but the country is even more important. We have an issue relating to dollars, gas and fuel. We have to resolve this and provide some respite to those in queues.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party cancelled its Politburo meeting that was scheduled for today.
What is the stance of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the National People's Power?
The Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the Jatika Jana Balawegaya has said that they will not support the new government. This has raised questions on whether Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has the support of a majority in Parliament. President's Counsel Ali Sabri has said that he will not accept a ministerial position in the new government.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says his party members won't switch sides for money or positions. Many local and foreign groups are attempting to betray parliamentarians of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya for money. This is a very low attempt. I'm happy to state that none of the parliamentarians in the Samagi Jana Balawegaya or the Samagi Jana Alliance won't fall for that. The Inter-University Students' Federation has warned of a possible change in the post of opposition leader. We have heard that Ranil Wickremesinghe is scheming a plan to bring Mahinda Rajapaksa as the opposition leader after the 17th. This is not a good thing. These were the views expressed by the Movement for the People's Struggle during a media briefing today. They are
trying to move forward by clinging on to Ranil, a weak president rejected by the people and the weakest parliamentarian whose party has only one seat have formed a government. He's the Prime Minister. They want to protect the thieves. That is why the thief congratulated him from Trincomalee. This is another plan involving the US and the IMF. The person who backs the US and India is in the seat, so the US wished him immediately. This is to protect the stolen money and make the country fall further into debt. Neither us nor those involved in the struggle will agree to the deal they are trying to strike. Ranil Wickremesinghe is the weakest parliamentarian while Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the weakest president in the history of Sri Lanka. What are these two weakest people doing together to revive the Rajapaksas and the Sri Lanka Poda Jana Perumana gang that has been defeated? A ship carrying 40,000 metric tons of diesel reached Sri Lanka last night. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation says it will begin unloading the consignment. The consignment has been imported under an Indian credit line. Will Sri Lanka receive financial assistance to import fuel? Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle has told the Times of India media outlet that India will continue to support Sri Lanka to purchase essential items.
India has responded to the requests by Sri Lanka, which reflect the urgent requirement of the people of Sri Lanka at this time. Our help has essentially been this year along two vectors. One is the forex support, and the other is to facilitate imports of essential items. On the first one, Reserve Bank of India has deferred payments of up to about $2 billion by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to the Reserve Bank so far. And on the second, as you would know and your viewers would know, India has extended two separate lines of credit to facilitate imports of fuel from India and food, medicine and essential items. Total together, these lines are about $1.5 billion. So overall, so far from January this year, we have extended support of $3.5 billion to Sri Lanka.
About 3 ships carrying fuel have not been unloaded for almost a week, as authorities don't have enough dollars to pay for the stocks. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation Chairman Sumit Vijayasinghe said the ships are carrying petrol, crude oil and furnace oil. He said payments for the ship will be made on Tuesday. Isn't there a way to avoid paying demurrage charges to ships like this? We can import petrol and diesel to the country in 4 days. India has given us money to do that, but authorities are not doing that. 3 ships carrying fuel were brought to the country under emergency purposes. We have to pay about $850,000 for the ships carrying octane 92 and 95 petrol as demurrage. On the 25th, a Siberian crude oil consignment was imported from Russia. We don't know under whose orders it was brought down. The demurrage charge paid daily for that ship is $100,000. We have paid $1.9 million for that. They have also imported a 30,000 metric ton consignment of furnace oil. For these 3 ships alone, we have paid more than $3.2 million as demurrage charges. We have to pay for these consignments in dollars. Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited said it did not distribute fuel to filling stations today. Its chairman, Major General RMW Soiza, said all workers have been given leave due to Vesak. People in many areas continue to wait in queues to purchase fuel. We begin our coverage with Rochelle Tumodara, who visited a queue in Colombo which ran to about a kilometer today.
Currently, I'm at a fuel station in Maligawandana. Since morning, curfew was lifted, and since then, there were long queues that were observed across the country. Now it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and as you can see, there's a long queue of fuel right here in Maligawandana as well. A long queue for fuel which extends over 1 kilometer.
Long queues were seen at fuel stations in many parts of the country today. This was the situation at the fuel station in Town Hall, Colombo. A tense situation was reported at a fuel station in Hambantota this morning as fuel was not being issued to the people there. The people who visited the fuel station to purchase fuel alleged that the fuel was hidden at the fuel station. People then took to the streets in protest and obstructed the Hambantota Kataragama main road. Heavy traffic was reported along the road due to the protest. The police and the special task force intervened to bring the situation under control. Tensions were high at a fuel station at Gane Mulla as fuel was not issued to the public. The people protested and demanded fuel. This was the situation in Minuangura. The police and the army had to intervene to control the situation. Fuel was not available at any fuel station in Anuradhapura. However, long queues of vehicles were seen at several fuel stations in the area. Long queues were seen at fuel stations in the Babula town. Fuel was issued at the fuel station in the Ambagas Handia. Long queues of vehicles were seen at the fuel station.
The fuel shortage has also affected farmers who are already facing many issues due to the fertilizer crisis. Farmers say they can't use their machines to cultivate their fields without diesel.
Farmers say their cultivations have been stalled at present. They say the unavailability of diesel has made it difficult to operate the machines used to cultivate crops. Due to these reasons, farmers had requested authorities to suspend releasing water to their fields. But in many areas like Kanthale, it's been 12 days since farmers received water. The water is going to waste as no cultivation is being carried out. Farmers say their demand for diesel must be solved first. Reserve a separate fuel pump for essential services, the state sector and farmers at the cooperative fuel station for 3 weeks.
The IOC petrol shed in the area will receive fuel today. They have agreed to allocate 50% of their fuel to farmers.
Farmers visited the fuel station later in the evening to purchase fuel, carrying a letter from the Agrarian Service Centre and the Agrarian Organisation. People who were in line at the fuel station for the past 4 days had objected to the farmers being given preference while purchasing fuel. Eventually, these farmers have been left helpless. Farmers of 47 agrarian organizations are unable to cultivate 22,500 acres of paddy fields in Kanthale because of this situation.
News First with the people.
Sri Lankans held a protest opposite the Parliament of Victoria in Australia this morning. This was under the theme, "Shut Australia's gates. Corrupted evils are not allowed here." The protesters showed their objection against the government for the crisis that has affected the people.
We have heard that many corrupt politicians are coming to Australia. We started a petition to prevent that. We hope to collect 100,000 signatures in a week. We will submit the petition to the Australian Parliament. They can't come here after committing mistakes. If they have done something wrong, they must be dealt with under Sri Lankan law. They can't flee the country after making mistakes.
In London as well, Sri Lankans held protests against the Sri Lankan government. They carried black flags and held black placards. Palestinians protesting against Israel were also seen at the demonstration site. Now switching attention back to some local news. Police say they have arrested 230 people over the violence that broke out in Sri Lanka on Monday.
The Criminal Investigations Department is investigating the incidents that occurred at Golface. Witness statements have been recorded from about 170 people. The Criminal Investigations Department is also examining the footage of the incident that circulated on social media. 707 incidents were reported across the country yesterday. 230 suspects have been arrested over those incidents. 68 among them have been remanded.
6 suspects who were arrested for setting fire to the house of former Minister Keheliya Rambukwala were produced to the Kandy Magistrates Court today. A Buddhist monk was arrested yesterday over the attack on the house of parliamentarian Kokila Gunawardena. The suspect was released on 2 surety bails of 100,000 rupees each. The case is to be taken up again on the 25th of this month.
3 puppies at the Carlton residence of former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa went missing after it was attacked on the 9th of May. A 21-year-old girl residing in Weerakatia had handed over one of these puppies to the police this morning. The girl was arrested after a statement was recorded from her.
The Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, has written to the Inspector General of Police regarding the failure of the police to arrest the main suspects connected to the attack on peaceful protesters on the 9th of May. In a letter, he points out that despite many people being arrested on suspicion of being involved in the violence following the attack on the peaceful protesters, only one person has been arrested in connection to the initial attack that caused the unrest across the entire country. The Deputy Leader of the United National Party points out that against a backdrop where many private plaints have been filed at the Fort Magistrate Court naming the main suspects involved in the initial attack on the peaceful protesters, the police have still failed to apprehend any of the chief suspects responsible for that attack. He requested the IGP to ensure that the investigations into the attack carried out on peaceful protesters is conducted with the same efficiency as the investigations into the incidents of violence that occurred across the country subsequent to the initial attack on peaceful protesters. The Inter-University Students' Federation raised concerns of a witch hunt carried out against some groups.
After his appointment, the Prime Minister is taking steps to arrest thousands of youth, students and workers according to a list. This is for behaving unruly on the 9th. This picture shows the person who gave alcohol to the mobs and said that the protest site at Golface must be attacked. This picture shows Deshabandhu Tennakone, who allowed this to happen in the interests of the government. The person next to him is parliamentarian Sanat Nishanta. This is Dan Priyasad. This is Mahinda Kandagama. Who is this person beating a chaplain? He is Pradesh Sabha chairman Pushpalal Kumarasinghe. And this is Amit Abevikrama, another local authority chairman. But they are arresting young people who stepped in to save us. All the youth who were arrested like this must be released.
The Frontline Socialist Party has claimed that there are attempts to destroy evidence relating to the unrest.
Deshabandhu Tennakone, බස්නාහිර පළාත භාර ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නියෝජ්‍ය පොලිස්පතිවරයා
Deshabandhu Tennakone, the senior DIG of the Western Province, had instructed another DIG to avoid preventing the mobs from entering Golface. The DIG and the senior superintendent have made log entries saying that the senior DIG of the Western Province instructed them not to prevent the mobs from entering the protest site based on the Defence Secretary's instructions. We have heard that they are planning to destroy these logbooks. We hope to go to court and request an order to protect these books. This evidence needs to be produced to the people. News First inquired from the police on the authenticity of these claims. Police spokesperson Senior Superintendent Nihal Taldua said he is unaware of the matter. Parliamentarian Shantha Bandara today visited his residence that was destroyed during the violence in the country on the 9th of May. The house is located in Maharachi Mulla in Alauva. This is not a house that belongs to me. The owner of this house is Lieutenant Darshana Samarakone. This was a house that was built by the blood and sweat of a soldier, and it was destroyed by those sinners. Not a single tax rupee was used to build this house. I hope that the police take the necessary steps. Parliamentarian Chandima Veerakodi visited his house, which was destroyed in this week's unrest. The law must be enforced against everyone who stirred the unrest. I wish to stress that the law must be enforced against anyone who was involved as well. Parliamentarian Chandima Veerakodi visited his house, which
Now on some sports news, Sri Lanka posted 258 for the loss of 4 wickets in day 1 of the first test match against Bangladesh.
Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bat first against Bangladesh in the first test match at Chattogram. Oshida Fernando scored 39 as he opened the innings with skipper Dimuth Karnaratne, who was out for 9. Batting at number 3, Kusal Mendes scored 54. Angelo Matthews registered his 12th Test century and remained unbeaten on 114. His knock included 14 boundaries and a 6.
Shot that was from
Dinesh Chandimal is also unbeaten on 34.
By the men in picture.
Meanwhile, Matisha Patirana became the first uncapped Sri Lankan to feature in an Indian Premier League game. He played for the Chennai Super Kings against the Gujarat Titans today.
Batting first, Chennai Super Kings posted 133 for the loss of 5 wickets against the Gujarat Titans. Gujarat Titans reached the target with 5 balls to spare. For Chennai Super Kings, Matisha Patirana picked up 2 wickets. He was the first Sri Lankan to feature in an IPL game before earning a place in the Sri Lankan national team.
The action coming through, and let's have a celebration.
And that is a wrap-up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Paldano. Take care.